This is the Logitech Superlight DEX2. Just some quick thoughts on this mouse. So you guys, a couple of differences between this mouse and the regular Logitech Superlight. Now both of these are going to be Logitech's ultra lightweight mice. The only real difference in their minds is that the DEX2 is going to be a more ergonomic shape. It's going to be for right-handed users, whereas the regular one is ambidextrous. So a couple of things, you guys. Obviously, the difference is going to be mainly the shape. So with the DEX2, you can see that it's definitely going to be taller and it's going to be more slanted toward the left. Overall, the edges are going to be just a little bit more slanted on the DEX2. So it actually is a little bit more difficult to grip onto unless you use the supplied rubber stickers. Those kind of remedy that, but in my opinion, you really kind of have to use those, because otherwise the slants on the right side in particular just make it a little bit tricky to grab onto firmly. Now personally, I'd say this mouse is probably for people who have larger hands. This hump area here definitely does take up quite a bit of space in your palm. The mouse is kind of asking you to use it in more of like a palm style grip. You can do claw and fingertip, which is what I've been doing, but it is a little bit more difficult to do that with this mouse than it was with this mouse, for example. So just one thing to note there. Lengthwise, the mice are almost the same. The DEX2 is going to be a little bit longer, and it doesn't look like much, but in my opinion, you do definitely feel that when you're using it. Again, there's just kind of more space being taken up in the back of your palm because of the larger hump and because of the longer size with the DEX2. That's not to say you can't do claw grip or fingertip grip. This is how I usually hold it, kind of like this. You know, then if you are going to do claw or fingertip, you'll notice that tips of my index finger and my middle finger are a little bit more toward the back of the clicker, the click buttons, right? It works fine, but this mouse does function better if you have the tips of your two fingers more toward the front, because the front is going to be where the buttons are going to actuate a little bit easier. Trying to actuate them back here as possible, it's a little bit more difficult. So that's why the mouse is kind of shaped in a way that it's asking you to hold it kind of like this, right? Not like this. It kind of wants you to hold it more toward the front, which means, as I mentioned, you just kind of have more of that space in the back being occupied by the shape of the mouse. So some people might not like that, but again, if you do a full palm grip, then I think that's where this mouse is really going to shine. Okay, that's the shape. A couple of differences though between this mouse and the regular Superlight 2. So a couple of major improvements, honestly. Guys, the clickers, the click buttons, the switches, man, they are so much better than the Logitech Superlight 2. These ones on the Superlight 2, in my opinion, are horrible. They're very, very bad. They're heavy and they're loud, and I really can't stand it because they get in the way. But the DEX2, these are so much better. They're a lot lighter and they're not quite as loud. They just feel better. They feel kind of like the G309 if you're used to that one, or if you've ever used the G502. They're very similar switches, but they just feel way better, you guys. Here's a quick sound test. They just feel light, delicate, and tactile, which is how I think clicks should feel. Compare that to this one. Not sure if the camera picks up that sound super well, but this regular Superlight 2, I guarantee you, is just a lot heavier of a click and it's a lot more loud. So the click's much improved on the DEX2. The other thing that's improved, the skates. They look almost identical, but they're much better on the DEX2, you guys. They glide smoother. They're really bad on the regular Superlight. When I drag this on the mouse pad, it just feels like I'm dragging a brick. They're so bad. They're much better on the DEX2. And it's not because this is a newer mouse. I've really tried wearing it down. I've dragged this thing like crazy on the mouse pad, but there's no sign of any difference from day one when I bought it. And I just think this is so much better. So those are two really major improvements with this mouse. And I do think at some point we're going to see Logitech make an improvement to the regular Superlight that's going to have these updates. Kind of a shame the original one, like right here, didn't have that, but it is what it is. Okay, you guys, weight-wise, we are going to give the edge to the DEX2, coming in at 59.2 grams. If we were to compare that to the regular Superlight, 61.5, so it's almost like a 2-gram difference. Not a huge deal, but as I mentioned, guys, this DEX2 does feel lighter because skates are better, clicks are better, and it is just physically lighter, even though it's actually a bigger mouse, which is pretty interesting. Now, I know that the regular Superlight has some grips on the switches, click buttons, but those really don't weigh much, so I think it's still safe to say this mouse is lighter. For me, I tend to prefer ambidextrous mice, so I'm gonna probably stick with the regular Superlight and the G309, but man, I really wish that they made this mouse in a smaller ambidextrous version because I do like the skates and I do like the switches better on this one. So anyway, guys, really great mouse, especially if you like right-handed mice. I think you'll love this one. For me, I'm going to stick with ambidextrous mice, so hopefully we'll see an update to the regular Superlight soon. Thanks for watching.